Good afternoon. Welcome to BYJU'S exam prep. Welcome to your session on verbal ability. Today we'll be looking at the three important topics of verbal ability in one class: para summary, para jumbles, and para completion. As you know, these are very important sections of CAT, and your score can go up. It can hit the roof if you get them right. Good afternoon, Zilani. So I hope you have read and practiced these questions enough. Having said that, let me tell you that parajumbles, hello Sonali, parajumbles are tricky. Parajumbles with options are still easier because you have some clue about the starting sentences and links. Hello Neeti. But because we have Theta parajumbles, I've given you both so that you can, other exams, apart from CAT, all other exams also have parajumbles, but these parajumbles are without options, so I've given you both kinds. Good noon, Shrishtu. Alright, so you can do both kinds, and you also need to think logically. The key is to understand how to think logically in parajumbles. Even with that, the disclaimer is always there that you can get CA correct and you can get DB correct, but the correct answer can be either. Right? So that's always the danger with parajumbles. But out of 3 parajumbles, you can get at least 1 correct in the time that you have. So the biggest problem that we have in CAT is if you give me all the time in the world, I'll get all the parajumbles right. That's what any student would tell me. But we don't have all the time in the world. Try to solve parajumbles in a minute, minute and a half maximum. Not more than that. Alright, so are you ready to start? Read the jumbled up sequence quickly once. As you read it, try to see which options go together. Alright, which statements go together, they are called the pairs, the mandatory pairs, the links, whatever your teacher calls them. Hello, Imam. Once you have them, look at the options given to you and see. If you are confused about the starting sentence, you can look at the options and decide based on the options. Suppose you think B is a good starting sentence and none of the options start with B, then you know that you are barking up the wrong tree. You need to do something different. All right, let's start with the first one. I'll give you a minute. All right, to read and solve, another 30 seconds, a minute and a half. You can't solve it that fast. That would be an insult to the question setter. Okay? Options have been given. So please look at the options and decide which is the best one. I'm going to read the jumbled up sequence and solve it with you. All right? All right, you can now start giving me the answers. Which is the right one? All right, give me option 1, 2, 3, or 4. Which is the right option? 3 and 1. Okay. Any other answers? Quick. Surrendered or captured combatants. Now when you are reading, you have to try to link. Okay, so I'm reading, try to link what I'm reading. I'm also going to stress on certain words. Again, another tip for parajumbles is I always articulate it. I read it with stresses on the linking words, on correlative, so that I know what follows. Surrendered or captured combatants cannot be incarcerated, put in jail. in razor wire cages. This war has a dubious legality. Is it really legal to call it a war? You just have to read, stress on this, that, these and those, which you know need some precedent in most cases. You need something to follow. I mean, if I say it is this war has a dubious legacy, now you know that he must have mentioned war somewhere. So A cannot come as the first sentence in the sequence. How can then one characterize a conflict to be waged against a phenomenon as war? So he's asking a question. How are you calling something a war? The phrase war against terror, which has passed into the common lexicon, is a huge misnomer. Don't you think he is saying something? Now the war is clear. What war is he talking about? The phrase war against terror, which has passed into our common parlance, common lexicon, we all are using it, is a huge misnomer. It is a wrong name. Why is it a wrong name? Here, this is besides. War has a juridical meaning in international law, which has codified the laws of war, imbuing them with a humanitarian content. War against terror is a misnomer. Why is it a misnomer? Why is it wrongly named? Terror is a phenomenon, not an entity. Either state or non-state. Okay? So war against terror is wrong. Why? Because war against terror is not an entity. It's not something you target. Iran has a war against Iraq. Iran and Iraq are entities, they are countries. Palestinians are at war with the Israelis. Hamas is at war with Israel. That's an entity. But here he is saying terror is a phenomenon, it's not an entity, either state or non-state. So how can you characterize the conflict against something that is not an entity? It's just a phenomenon. How can you have a war against terror? Terror is a phenomenon, it's not an entity. All right, then besides, so now in addition, war has a juridical meaning. It has a meaning in terms of justice and law. All right, and so surrendered or captured, when you have combatants in war, you cannot put them in cages. You have to. But this war has a dubious legality. This war, combatants cannot in razor wire cages. Okay, this war against terror, has a dubious legality. So the correct legality. So the correct answer is 4CEBDA. All right, I'll give you 2 minutes, but don't be in a hurry. Try to find out. Even with that, I was saying our accuracy percentage is very low where parajumbles are concerned. This is a 5-sentence parajumble because it's with options. Appeared in some exam, non-CAT or CAT earlier had 5 statement parajumbles. All right. Next one, no options. We are in trouble. That's why only 4 sentences. Try to read and find links. I'll give you a minute and a half. If you want, I'll give you 2. No, I'll give you a minute and a half. All right? can start thinking of the order, look at it again, see if you're right, okay? Okay, I'm getting two answers, right? 3214, 3124. So decide which do you think is the correct one. Three, so all of you got three correct. Fantastic. Is it 312 or 3214? Four also at the end you got it right. This is always the problem we have. The creative element in product design has become of paramount importance as it is one of the few ways a firm or industry can sustain a competitive advantage over its rival. All right, he's talking of the creative element in product design. Always remember, keep the theme in mind. In fact, the creative element in the value of world industry would be larger still if we added the contribution of creative elements in other industries such as the design of tech accessories. Do you think one comes before two? He is talking, just asking. Okay, first he is talking of in the world of industry, in the industrial world, if you're taking, you have to look at the creative element of other industries such as design of tech accessories. Then you talk about the design of tech accessories or product design of paramount importance, a few ways. Alright, and then of course 4 comes. So the correct answer is 3214. That is why this, that, these, those, please stress on it. You might get. In that 1.5 minutes, not easy to get. Alright? But you did very well. Getting 3 and 4 in the right place is correct. But somebody else would say miss is as good as a mile. मैंने 3 1 2 4 कर लिया तो you'll get a 0. 3 2 1 4 you'll get +3. So in that 1.5 minutes, just say a silent prayer, mark the option and move. Some of us don't even have 1.5 minutes. You have 1 minute in CAT. Because we can't finish every section that fast. So if you do all the passages, I try to do all the passages, then I move to VA. By the time there's not much time. All right, start with the next one. Good job with this one. 3124, 3214, I'm happy with both, but start. The next one. I'll give you 1.5 minutes again, looking at my timer. All right, lot of correct answers have come in before time is up. You can key, you may start keying in your answers. 2431. I don't know if it's correct. A lot of answers have come in, I said. All right. Okay. Why did most of you get it right? Because there's a clear link between the statements. What's the clear link? Let's just read. Women may prioritize cooking because they feel they alone are responsible for mediating a toxic and unhealthy food system. Food is commonly framed through the lens of individual choice. You can choose to eat healthily. This is particularly so in a neo-liberal context where the state has transferred the responsibility of food onto individual customers. Individualized framing of choice appeals to a popular desire to experience agency but draws away from the structural obstacles that stratify individual food choices. This is particularly so where individual choices appeals to popular desire. This happens mostly in a neoliberal context where they transfer the responsibility of food to the individuals. Among individuals, women may prioritize this fact more. Okay, so 2431. All right. Para summary, very important. It helps you get 9 marks if you get all the para summaries in. It also helps you do well in reading comprehension. If you have 4 passages, there are 2 types of main point question that CAT asks. Either it will say what is the conclusion you can draw from paragraph 4, paragraph 3, paragraph 1, which basically means the gist or the point that the author is trying to make, the main point. Or they can ask the flow of thoughts of the passage, which is the same approach you take while doing para summary. They can ask main point questions directly, not many, but still. So either ways, you have to know the main point of a passage when you're answering questions. If you know it, most questions you can answer correctly because you know what goes against the main point. Which of the following is the author likely to agree with? Has to align with the main point. What does the author not agree with? Doesn't align with the main point. So a summary is nothing but a mini reading comprehension passage with only one question: what's the main point? Nothing that is not given in the passage can be part of the summary because you are only summarizing what has been given. All right. Also remember, they should not misrepresent anything that is given in the passage. Okay. And if you read and summarize before you look at the options, your chances of getting the answer correct increase. All right. Okay. I'll give you 1.5 minutes for this also. Read first for 1 minute, then I'll show you the options. All right. Read the paragraph for a minute. I'll show you the options for a minute. Easier for me that way. Okay. Done reading the paragraph? Can I go to the next slide to show you the options? Okay. Which do you think gives the right summary? Remember, once you've narrowed it down to A, B, A or B, B or C, I can take you back to the passage if you want to see something extra. Have you read all the options? Incorrect, incomplete summaries are also wrong. All right. A summary has to give you the story of the entire passage. Remember that. Okay, it has to give you the story of the entire passage. Let's look at the main points of the passage. 19th century liberals recognized that democracy comes in many forms. Dreaded the version advocated by Rousseau. Rousseau was late 17th, 18th century. So the 19th century liberals did not like Rousseau's version of democracy. in which an inspired lawgiver, in Rousseau's version, all right, an inspired lawgiver interprets and implements the will of the people. That is Rousseau's democracy. A lawmaker or lawgiver interprets, implements the people's will. He decides what's the people's will. Nowadays, such fears are dismissed as elitist. Who are a few lawgivers to decide what is or interpret what is our will? But the old-fashioned liberals grasped a vital truth. The old-fashioned liberals are Rousseau-wala liberals. They realized one truth. Popular government has no necessary connection with freedom of individuals or minorities. Of course, liberals today will say that this can be remedied by installing the rule of constitutional rights. But such systems based on rule of constitutional rights are fragile, count for nothing when large sections of society are indifferent or actively hostile to liberal values. When this is the case, democracy means nothing but the tyranny of majority. All right. So Rousseau kind of liberals, the old-fashioned liberals, believed that democracy is a system where a lawgiver interprets the will of the majority. The modern liberals did not agree with him. Rousseau and the old-fashioned liberals were correct in one thing, that is, democracy or popular government has nothing, no connection with the freedom of the individuals. Then the new liberal guys would say, no, we have constitutional rights. But the author is saying the system based on constitutional rights can become tyrannical, can become nothing but a tyranny of the majority. If you have a large section of people who don't want liberal values, then any democracy can degenerate to a tyranny of the majority. Clear? All right. What is wrong with the first one? What is wrong with option A? Many of you marked option A. Now tell me, we have gone through the passage so many times, twice, right? Inspired lawgivers in liberal democracies are better equipped to interpret and implement the will of the people than in illiberal democracies. Has he compared liberal and illiberal? What did he say? Rousseau gave one interpretation of democracy where the lawgiver interprets the will of the people. The new guy said, no, that is not democracy, but Rousseau type of democracy was correct. Democracy has nothing to do with individual freedom. Then the new guys would say, no, we have freedom, we have constitutional rights. Then the author says, so A, what he's saying, he is comparing liberal with illiberal democracies, while the passage is only talking of one democracy. That democracy, some people believe democracy has nothing to do with individual freedom. It can degenerate into tyranny of the majority, and the other one is saying no, constitutional rights are there. So A nahi hoga. B is only telling you about 19th century liberal. But remember, 19th century liberals believed that democracy is not much more than the tyranny of the majority. Did the 19th century liberals do that? 19th century liberals said that democracy comes in various forms, and they did not like Rousseau's version. They believed in the version of constitutional rights. The author and the people who agreed with one part of what Rousseau said say that democracy can become a tyranny of the majority, not 19th century liberals. So B is wrong. Which one is it then? Constitutional rights are fragile and ineffective in ensuring the protection of freedom of individuals in any democracy. He's saying they are fragile. They cannot always protect, and they cannot be of much value if you have a large section of people who don't want liberal values, don't believe in liberal values. So that is where people do not believe in liberal values, that becomes an illiberal democracy. So governments in illiberal democracies, governments in those democracies where a majority of the people don't believe in liberal values, use the majority to clamp down on freedom of minorities, which is nothing but tyranny of the majority. Got it? So your correct summary will not use exact words that have been used, may not use the exact words used in the passage. All right. Okay, next one, another tough one, really tough one. I think most of us got this wrong, and that is when you came out of the hall, when you got to see the question paper again after a week or 10 days, whenever CAT released the paper, we could see where we made the mistakes easily. But in that 1 minute, none of us noticed it. All right, I'll give you a minute to read. Let me see the timer. All right. I'll give you a minute to read and a minute to read the options and decide. Okay? All right. Now look at the options. You read all the options, don't be in a hurry, and then decide which one. Which one is closest to what you remember is the main point. I can show you the passage again if you want. You'll take a little too long. Exam you won't have that much time, but I've got 2 answers for C so far. What about the rest? Okay, Tarun, just look at the scope the author has talked about. All right, do you think D captures the scope? Is it only a design pattern from a community which owns them? Is it only about compensation? That is the key. All right. C is again quite close. I mean, C, A all have an aspect which is correct and an aspect which is not correct. One of the options at least. I'm getting it all confused. All right, let's go back. Tamsin Blanchard, curator of Fashion Open Studio, an initiative by a campaign group showcasing the work of ethical designers, says, we are all drawn to an exquisite piece of embroidery, a colorful textile, or even a style of dressing that might have originated from another heritage. But this magpie mentality, what does a magpie do when it builds its nest? Do you know that? Anything that looks attractive or shiny, it picks up and goes. You keep a small ball, falls outside, if it's a shiny ball, it'll take it off. Fork, spoon, anything that. So this magpie mentality, taking whatever you feel looks attractive, where all the culture and history is up for grabs as inspiration. What happened? I'm inspired. Okay? By something. Has accelerated since the proliferation of social media. Picking up designs or styles or textiles that might have originated in another culture, okay, and calling it inspiration has become more Since social media has become more, since the proliferation or spread of social media, the spread of social media has increased this tendency to pick up textiles, designs, whatever. When once a fashion student might research the history and traditions of a particular item of clothing, this is the example. With care or respect, we now have a world where images are lifted from image libraries without a care for their cultural significance. It's easier than ever to steal a motif or a craft technique and transfer it onto a clothing that's either mass produced or appears on a runway without credit or compensation to their original communities. Because of this, we have image libraries from which we can pick up anything. So we can mass produce a print, a textile, a design, or have, say I designed it and have a model walk on the ramp doing it without bothering to give credit or compensation to the original community. That's what he's saying. What is wrong with A? Media has encouraged mass production. He didn't say that. The tendency to pick up is accelerated by proliferation of media. Media has not encouraged mass production. We pick up a design and mass produce it, he's saying. So that is wrong. Cultural collaboration is the need of the hour. Did he say that? He is only telling what wrong is happening. No compensation, no credit, nothing is being given. Where will he say ye hona chahiye? That is not there in the passage. We need cultural collaboration. We need to showcase them. Here he is saying you're showcasing them, but you're not giving them any credit. Yeah. What is wrong with this? Close, but did he say from native communities who own them only for compensation? They don't own it. It is their design. It is part of their culture. So one thing you have to do is give credit, give compensation, use the right processes, be ethical about it. That's what he is saying. All right. Okay, so C is the answer now. You get the idea why it is C? All right, good. Another para summary which troubled all of us quite a bit. I think this was also in 22. I'm not sure. I'm getting confused between 21 and last year and the year before that. Since I've used most of the summary passages in my questions, I get confused which year was what. But this is a good one. Again, 45 seconds, 45. No, 1 minute to read, 1 minute to solve. If we had that luxury, we would get it right. I'll give you less than a minute for this. This is a short para. Okay, next. Here you have to keep going back to the passage if you didn't remember the main points. Decide on one or two options which are closed, then I'll show you the passage again. Okay, read the options, I'll show you the passage again. All right. Again, I'm showing you the passage. Now I'll show you the options again. All of you seem to have got B. Any other answer? Anyone confused with any other option? We will go back. The answer is indeed B. Good job. Unless you've done it before. I don't know. You might have done it before. All right. Key is the capitalist captures the political agenda. He exploits the workers. No other option gives that correctly. He uses the anxieties of the unemployed, uses the political organization of the unemployed, and fulfills his agenda. All right. This is a classic para summary. You might have done it before. Read the flow, how beautifully he has given it. 1 minute and again 1 minute for that. Let me see the timer. Okay. All right. I show you the options. Okay. Decisions based, he's talked about two. Decisions based on intuition, decisions based on information. You can't have an option that only talks about decisions based on intuition. So A is wrong. It's only talking about decisions made on intuition, no? So it cannot be A. He has to mention both. He says intuition, you can't explain because you just used your instinct to make it. You didn't use any, maybe your past experience played a part in it, but you can't explain why you came to a decision. One on information, you use report, data, everything, so it's slower. You can explain it. You can say, look, this, because of this I made it. Right? Those are the two things he says. He did not say under what conditions do we use which decision. All right? He did not say which is better. Alright, so basically he says there's a difference in the speed and in terms of whether you can explain the decision or not. So D sums up all. This is all para summary questions, classic para summary questions should be like this. But you know CAT, they will not give you anything that ought to be like that, right? But this is what a clear para summary questions looks like. Intuition hua, information hua, that's it. So the option that tells you about both and sums it up. Advantages and disadvantages. Alright? Okay. The new one, the topic says odd one out. Odd one out did not. Last year there was no odd one out parajumble. You follow the same rules of parajumbles for odd one out also. Identify the theme, anything that doesn't seem to belong to the theme, or you order the sentences and you can easily figure out which is the odd one out. Para completion, so there were two types of para completion questions. In the past, CAT used to give a paragraph from which the last line was removed. 4 options which stood for the last line were given and you were told which one completes the passage best. So here the para completion was invariably at the end of the passage. Here the change is that a sentence is given to you right at the beginning and you are asked where will it be placed in the passage. The position you have to determine also. You don't have to determine which sentence completes the passage. You have to, they've given you the sentence that completes the passage, this one. You have to decide what is the position of this sentence in this paragraph. Okay, so when you have to first read the paragraph. Okay, when you read, see the flow of ideas. Wherever you feel there is something missing, there's an abrupt change, there's some sort of a gap, the flow of thought is not clear, that is the place where the sentence might fit. Put the sentence in it and see it makes sense. Alright, I mean that's the quickest and the most effective way of doing it. Read the sentences. If between 1 and 2 you don't see anything required, you just think 1 just easily flows into 2, then that's your answer. Otherwise, so once you decide कि C में ही लगेगा sentence, put the sentence in C, read the sentence before it and after it just to be sure that it's logical. This will not take you more than 1.5 minutes. I've already got answers for this. I'm not saying it's right or wrong though. Alright. When people socially learn from each other, they often learn without understanding why what they are copying, the beliefs, behavior and technology and know-how works. So basically he says when you copy others, you don't know why what you are copying works. Now remember, cut this out. When people learn or copy from others, they can't understand. They often learn without understanding why this action of copying works. Why is it successful? Why is it effective? Okay, that's what he's saying. So this thing that you're copying can be anything. It can be belief, it can be behavior, it can be technology. Whenever you're copying somebody, learning from somebody, you don't know why that process works. That's all he's saying. All right. After that you can't say the dual inheritance theory says that inheritance is itself an evolutionary system. What inheritance? So one, it cannot be. So let's start from here. The dual inheritance theory says that inheritance is itself an evolutionary system. It has variation. What makes us a new kind of animal and so different and successful as a species is that we rely heavily on social learning. There he is introducing the topic to the point where socially acquired information is effectively a second line of inheritance, the first being our genes. All right. When people socially learn from each other, they often learn. So it's just like a second line of inheritance. You often copy others without really learn from others or really understanding why it works. What do you do without understanding why it works? What are you doing? You just tend to focus on who seems to be the most successful. So that's the part where the answer is. Why did you put D? People have different psychologies effectively. Uske baad, when people socially learn from each other, there is no connection. The connection has to be social learning. Why do you socially learn? Or why do you tend to copy? That flow of thought is not there in 4, nor is it there in 3. Got it? So answer is B. Let's look at another question. This is the sentence. In the exam, I had to search for the sentence. Kahan gaya? Okay. Look at the sentence and tell me which one. Arushi thinks it's 2. What about the rest? Rather, the answer is B. Yeah, B is option 2. Understood. Everyone? B. Anyone has any other answer? It is B. You've now understood how it goes. Even if you've done it before, even if you've done this question before, reading and again putting it in place helps you. All right. I mean, I gave from cat passages because I can make a passage similar to it, which is what I'm doing in the mocks. We are all doing that in the mocks. But it can never be an example for a class where you explain the basics. Once you get the basics right, everything is in place. All right, next one, easy one. It's about ghee. Desi ghee. He didn't use the word desi ghee though. He just used ghee. Question 11, last question of the set, quickly. बहुत easy था. See, the point is he explained has come. The moment you see he explained has come, he explained cannot come before you mention the person, this karmakar. So it can either be in 3 or in 4. So you only have to see the flow of thoughts between 3 and 4 when you are choosing to fit the sentence, and the correct order is 3. All right. So remember, in the exam, solve the questions fast in the order in which they appear and give more time to para summary in terms of eliminating options, and paragraph completion is easy. Don't look at the size of the paragraph and say, oh my God, I can't do it. You can do it accurately and quickly just with a little bit of practice. All right. Okay. Quick, some of the announcements that we are there. Don't run away before that, and don't forget to press a like. Free trial. If you're joining any of our courses, take a free trial so you know our pedagogy. Look at the exams. Look at our packages. They are comprehensive. They have sync, async, recorded classes, mocks, video explanations of mocks, everything given to you in one passage. On 20th, Gautam Bawa he's going to take the exam and give you his impressions of the exam. Do not miss it. And I hope you are taking NMAT, the first exam in the MBA bouquet. Take the scholarship test and get a fee waiver. If you're joining us, I hope you are. I hope to see you all in the class. We are starting the CAT crash course on 23rd October from 7 p.m. Please be there. Join us for a quick review of all the main concepts of every section of CAT. All right. Write the All India Open mock, and in the next class, I want to ask you your scores. After 5th November, when I meet you, I will ask you your scores in the All India Open mock. Do attempt the test, see how you do, and also attend the analysis after that. All right, join any or all of our social media channels so that you know what are the sessions going on at any point in time. We have plenty of them. I will see you again next Tuesday with the editorial analysis. Until then, study hard. The harder you work, the better you get at it.